Hi everyone, my name is Seth. I'm back again for yet another episode of Guys Connect. I'm so excited because it's a new season and this is the first episode for the year. And I have the regular cast and I have the new cast. I'm so excited. I have with me here Bowie. I'm so excited. His friend is joining us today. Vikadex.
Hello.
Josh. And of course, my co-host PK is here today. I'd like to say Happy New Year for you that is just joining us. This is the first episode, so it's not too late to say that. Thank you very much. Today is very interesting, and I have a very interesting topic to discuss with us. You know, there's a lot of things happening, and some of the feedback we got from the viewers is to discuss the ongoing concern around modernity and traditional ways of meeting the identity. You know, some of us grew up in a different generation to the reality we are facing today. And it could be today we're not just limiting it to a particular aspect of life. It could be marriage, it could be relationship, it could be at work, like somebody was speaking late that it's difficult to have Gen Z's work because the way they behave is different. Like maybe it's not, maybe it's the way they will be looking at us or you, that maybe it's the way you are behaving is different. So because they are coming from different generations, so they see you
the way you two used to see other people, like
exactly. I couldn't understand when growing up they say, okay, a child has hiccup, you take wool.
Yes.
Yes. Somewhere. So it will be good to hear guys your thoughts on different aspects. Maybe it will be a good way to start with. I think there's a story. It was someone sent it to me around Deborah. I didn't understand what was happening. I don't know if anyone had any idea about it. So what actually happened? So let's start. I've gotten about two different versions of what happened.
The Deborah lady, you know, she did a tweet that somebody in her husband's office, her husband told her that somebody is bringing a second spoon so that they can be eating together. And she said, so because of that, she started waking up at 4:30 to cook for her husband.
So no one grieve anybody.
Yes, so I'm Josh. Yeah. Okay, so then so people then started bashing her like, oh, are you a slave? Why will you be waking up early? And then some people decided to say, we need to reward this behavior.
It was a gift I saw first.
Yes.
Okay.
So that was the origin of the gifts because of this so-called feminists.
Okay.
Decided to pounce on that young lady, and then people then rose up in her defense to then reward what you know. So that's controversial, but I've told my wife maybe you would have to start waking up so that we can have our third baby in Brazil.
Mine have been waking up like that, and not that early, and also, of course, it's not one size fits all. There's a balance in these things. Sometimes if I'm on leave, or if it's me that had more time, why don't I wake up also? If he has to go out somewhere early, I can wake up. So it's just a balance. It's good for women to wake up.
But waiting those of us, I'm not single. What are the single people going to say? So I have a girlfriend. So the girlfriend will probably or fiancé leave their house.
Interestingly, there was actually a tweet also about that.
Okay.
And the joke was basically around a guy saying, for a lady, if you want to get married or you are serious about a relationship, you should be up at least by 8 o'clock, and all the food should have been done by then. Of course, there's that 4-hour gap that is being given, but then it's just a thought. I think just to move it forward a bit, I think something is being communicated by one gender, that's males, and they are saying they want a woman that can nurture. I think cooking is one of those things that factors into nurturing, right? Of course, they're also now neglecting the fact that it's not the same as it was in the time past. Now we have a lot more guys that don't know how to cook. We have a lot more traffic than usual. We have a lot of different things that are going on, but I think people just have to find a way to find what works for them, because it can be very problematic. Imagine telling a lady that has to be at the office, say by like 7 a.m., right, on a regular basis. and she closes, let's say 9 p.m. Then she still has to come back through traffic to the house, and then you now want to start cooking. How?
We even says that. I think that's where the issue of tradition and modernity comes into play. Okay, because the assumption is that in the marriage or in the relationship, as it were, it's one gender's role to cook, one gender's role to do something else. You know, I know it might be so okay because I know we're talking about cooking. For example, you have a girlfriend or a fiancé or a wife who you both drive a car and probably will not even go and cook for food because you expect that okay, this guy should be the one to do that, or there's a mechanic generator issue, the guy should do that, or maybe somebody to take the trash out. Of course. So I think that's where the issue.
Are you saying that women can do those things now?
Yeah, I'm even saying that. My convention is.
How many?
We confine it to gender. Look at this. You are not quiet.
I mean, the number of things running through my mind.
Yeah.
I'll start with the food thing. I think that's usually something that comes up in conversations frequently.
Yeah.
And people would say, oh, if you don't get married, would you not eat? I think sometimes people forget that for a guy that does not cook, who is not married, has found a framework that works on how they feed themselves. When you bring that into a marriage, that may not work. Not because they necessarily want the woman to be waking up to cook. I know people will be like, if you give me bread every morning, I'm fine. But the woman will say, no, you're a married man now. It's even the pressure of society. You are a married man now. You cannot be eating this. You cannot be eating this way.
Being 011.
Exactly. So, if for me, I feel like before I got married, I wasn't cooking every day. I wasn't cooking every time. I found a way that worked for me. I'm comfortable maintaining that in a marriage, in my marriage, if that would allow us to allow balance in other things.
So the question now is the motivation of Deborah. So how was this guy eating before?
Yeah.
How was he eating?
It was interesting.
That's another.
Exactly. It was interesting to see that.
Okay.
It was interesting to see that it was not the husband that demanded her to wake up.
Okay.
While it is problematic for me.
You don't know the backstory. Maybe the husband had mentioned it and she had refused.
Okay, that's another hand. It will also be the fear of
losing her husband.
I feel like
that was the fear,
To mitigate.
which was problematic.
So
it's only a matter of time that they, like they say, I don't know how true is it that
So
they
maybe
make a master.
maybe she didn't really have to cook. If you have a husband who you can understand and who has the understanding that, hey, don't worry, okay, I'm going to stop doing that, I'm going to stop eating with her, something like that. So it's looking like, okay, if the only thing I have to do is to ensure that you have your own food, then I'm going to make it available. So it's the motivation.
I would like to hear you guys starting from now this issue of gender roles, and because for me, a part of me, I understand it because from the generation I'm coming from. But I also try to be in touch with the newer generation. I'm a young person myself, of course, no matter how young you are, who younger than you.
Yeah.
So it's very important for you to, like, people ask the question, who says this is this person's role? Who define the role? Should we, even though traditionally some of these roles are just a natural definition, but in the reality of the situation we are living now, the new generation, can we still hold that to account?
I think we should also look at where we are coming from is evolvement.
Okay.
You know, in those days, women don't work.
Okay.
Men go to war. They go to the game, to the bush, get stuff, and then. But as we begin to face evolution, and women started working, of course, those things have to change.
Yeah.
And I think that is my own approach to it. That as we evolve, things would begin to change. What we should not do is to be traditional.
Okay.
We should be open-minded. Also, we also need to consider a lot of things. There are roles that require more physical energy.
Yeah.
And it is assumed that the man, because of the way we are built, you have that capacity to do those physical stuff. So it's expected that anything that exerts energy physically from you, maybe the man should take it up, basically.
Yeah.
So for me, that's how I approach it. I also approach it based on expertise. Like, if you are comfortable with something, if it's an area of strength
for you,
yeah, I would defer to you.
Yeah, okay, Josh, I'm very interested in the singles part because it's easy to have this conversation in marriage. You say, okay, we are married, okay, we are partners already. But for someone who probably you are still dating, so because it's a very significant aspect of your life where it's a case of almost like a trial run, and more like I'm seeing, okay, this is going to fit into this model. It both ways. The same way the lady too is looking at this guy. Going to be the guy. He's the guy who probably will see cockroach and even run away. You know, those are the times when you are seeing some of this. So how do you manage gender roles? You know, from that perspective.
I think with the way the scene is right now, it's unspoken, but it's very clear what the role is.
Yeah.
The lady already comes with the assumptions, and you are the one that asks me out. I will never ask you out, right? Okay. You ask me to come out this evening, XYZ time and place. So you are paying.
Okay.
And once you get into the relationship, some ladies expect you to give them allowances or expect you to put out money for her nails, her hair, contribute to this. Some ladies will say, you need to pay for my flights. I just wonder, you know, like, I mean, if she wants to just take some trip.
Something like vacation or stuff.
There we go. And some couples even plan, you know, vacations for themselves.
They call it vacation.
Vacation.
Oh, okay.
So they go to either short legs or they travel out or so such and such. But the when it comes to financial responsibility, the body is heavily on the guy.
For me, you know, I feel sometimes, and this is my own challenge, that sometimes some of these rules are a bit more like convenience. Also, because if you're talking about feminism, I don't have a problem. I have a problem with it. I also understand the reason behind it sometimes. It's easy to say, okay, like for example, the issue of the cooking now. Why do a man want me to slave and other? But when it's the other way around, sometimes maybe it's something that you need a person your feminism or whatever comes down. So it's almost as if I can be this if it's in this situation. If it's this other situation, I choose not to.
So that's double standards.
I really have an interesting perspective on this. And again, for me, I believe I'm not a traditional man. I do have traditional values, but I'm not a traditional man. And one of the things that was very clear to me before, you know, in getting into a relationship was that probably the only thing I need a woman for is the companionship and, you know, the consummation. Every other thing in my life I figured out. I found a way to feed myself, to clothe myself.
Yeah.
All of the other things I can. If it's to clean the house, you can get the cleaner. If it's food, you can buy food or get a chef. So all of those rules that's been problematic, I found a framework. Now going back to tradition simply is similar to culture. It's the way of a certain people. Like Bowie said earlier, previously our communities were more homogeneous. Now we have become more individualistic than communal. And that means that even within the same community, we are not essentially the same people culturally. So you have 10 people living on the same street. But back in the days, I mean, all the men were farmers, all the wives. So it was easy to apply the same framework for everybody. Yeah. But now even on the same street, one is a consultant that works 40 hours a week. One is a OAP one works from home. So the same format for approaching things would not fit, which is why every person must now come to a point where they determine what works for them.
Yeah.
And coming back to feminism, the only feminism I believe in is what is called the equality of opportunities and equality of outcomes. And that simply means men and women should have equal access to opportunities. And the way I understand that is all cars have the same access to the road. But you cannot carry Lamborghini and go to Mina and drive on that road. It will cost you more.
And you cannot drive Porsche in Lagos.
And you cannot drive
Lagos Portos.
Exactly. Not that they don't have rights to the road. If they want to go on that road, they very well can.
But
3 Porsche can go on that road. One will have an issue. The others may not have an issue, depending on several things like maintenance. And that's what I feel with gender roles. And there are feminine traits. There are masculine traits. And I'll just round up with one thing I saw Jordan Peterson reference. in the most equitable societies, the Nordic countries like Norway, Sweden, where people have opportunities, you realize that men and women tend to, lean more towards more traditional roles.
Exactly. So,
where women have the opportunity, more men are still mechanics. So more men are still carpenters.
Like what Bowie said, and for me, it's something I want to hold on to. It's very important that we acknowledge that, the world is changing, and also the reality. For example, like George was just mentioned, where maybe growing up, when I was growing up, most of the men are the one working. Most of the women are probably at home, mom and all that.
Teachers.
So, but the reality of that, in fact, we have, in my opinion, we have even more women working now than even men. I'm talking about offices, and stuff like that. Globally, yeah. So we should acknowledge that, but it's also important, like just like you said, that we also understand that there are some roles that it's just natural inclination, just like you mentioned with the Nordic society and the rest, where you just want to tend towards. That's for me. I would not expect, no matter how, my wife has the ability, for example, there's something that maybe you want to put on a generator, for example, or maybe mechanic. I can't even imagine that when she's going to go and sit down with mechanic to fix something, So there's something that, I don't even need to understand. But the truth is that that conversation, that modernity to traditional, life is going to keep evolving, and our ability to be able to see each other for who we are and manage that.
I want to
sit down and talk.
Yeah.
This is peculiar to particular family.
Yeah.
So look at yourselves, right? So what do you have here? What can my partner do better than I can?
Yeah.
I just decide. I think it's as simple as that.
Yeah.
Because like what people say, it's not like one side is all or everybody.
Yeah.
People on the street now, even 5 people, call them together, they're different.
Yeah.
So you have to look at what works for us.
I also want to balance it by saying that gender roles or dependency does not mean helplessness. Just because the woman is one that cooks does not mean if the woman is not around, the man cannot cook. It doesn't mean that if the husband is not around, the wife cannot take the car to the mechanic and say it was fix it.
That one is an issue.
For some, yeah.
I like that.
Women, they will just call you. Your car is
On the road.
Your car is on this place. Come and pick it. I'm taking.
But interestingly, and that's the way you also look. It depends on the way you look at it. For me, funny enough, that's some of the good thing about marriage. You just know that sometimes I just won't check. Like this morning, I was going to drive out. First thing I went to go and check my wife's car, check the oil, just check everything. Because like she may want to go out later or something. Because I don't want to show where she gets to do something. I will not call you. Okay, okay, come and tell you. No, in fact, you are driving there. They are taking your own car key.
Exactly.
But it's just the reality. I don't have a problem with that. It's just the reality of. Yes. I get it.
Yeah.
My mom made us cook. That's why for me, for a long time, I don't understand why men can't cook. For example, for a long time, I didn't understand why. My mom made us cook. In fact, I can even brag that I cook better beans than most women, because it's just maybe because it's with the food I like them. So I learned how to cook enough. So it's just don't just resign. Don't just get my job like that. My house to go. Your friends used to say you cook. Okay, now that you've never cooked. Today, can you even cook? Okay, I'll prove to you I can cook. It's just fun. Just do it for her. Not that do it. Just enjoy.
I remember growing up, the first time I tried making noodles. The first time I tried pounding jam. Because in my house, I'm the oldest.
Okay.
My sister did not come like 7 years later.
Okay.
Just 2 boys. And my mom is the next.
She goes to work, that goes to work. So don't cook. We drink Gary Tire.
Josh, why is there something?
Yeah, I was just thinking about the whole thing, like as a spectrum, the entire bit. Bobby said something about evolution, and yes, truly things are evolving. But the more things evolve, the more I see some things just stick, and some other things, even as they are evolving, people are having serious issues with it. Take for instance, one thing that is being passed down is cohabitation. No matter how we want to perceive it in the African context, no matter how we're advancing, it can't be just that widespread that everybody is awake to it and say, hey, let's have a conversation now, we're fine. A lot of people will say, no, you're not doing it right, this, respect, honor, value, this not family. But I say a lot of people, it's happening, and in those type of relationship, you can see a lot of gender roles that ideally are in the traditional sense, maybe a male kind of thing or a female kind of thing, is crossing like this. Now you see a lot of guys, they are happy to be chefs in the kitchen for their woman, and you see some in maybe all of those, some of those relationships, you see the ladies earning a lot more, but the guy is fine being a stay-at-home body. For me, it begs the question: where's the masculinity? No, I'm not saying it's wrong, but to some other people, they are looking at it like, is this a man? So ladies, not even men.
Who defines that? Because there's a man that I know, a very wealthy man.
Yeah.
And he was ready to do that between himself and his wife. That he said somebody has to take, it was their decision.
Yeah.
That somebody has to be at home. And he
Yeah.
was ready to do this job.
Yeah.
Really want to stay at home with children.
Yeah. That's nice.
So I get
that's
the point.
respectful.
Yeah.
But have you seen situations where it went sideways? That now the woman is earning more money, so she talks to him anyhow. I'm telling you, like, you find ladies that if you are not earning more than them, they can't respect you.
Just confirm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's some guys that actually go all out looking for single
Yeah.
looking for ladies
Yeah.
who
Earns more.
Yes.
Yeah.
They call them sugar mummies.
Oh,
Yes.
No.
I mean, or do you mean
No.
younger ladies?
They are both
Yeah.
single. They are both single, but they want to ensure that the person they're going to get married, is at that level, more stable than they are. So that, they are
Yeah,
people
true.
like that.
There are guys like that.
I
There are
think
guys like
you're
that.
looking at the symptom instead of the cause.
Of course, yeah.
In the even as society are evolving, rather is evolving, core values remains the same, should remain the same. The expression of these core values is what evolves. So concept like respect, like protection still remains the same.
Yeah.
So even when the woman is earning more than the man has a feel of, I'm responsible for this household. I am protective. And that may mean saying, no, I know you're earning more than me. Can we put a framework to saving, to investment? These are the things you need to do if I was your so there are core values you should hold.
Yeah.
And no matter the changes in your life, in the things that are happening to you, those core values are expressed.
Yeah.
Respect for example, respect on the woman's side, whether you're any more than your husband or not, there should be respect. Now, what respect means when she's earning more and when you are earning more may now be different, but the core values of respect should remain.
Yeah, guys, sorry, we are running out of time, but I'll still get your thought. I just want to quickly chip in. For those watching us, we appreciate you for joining. Please remember to drop your comments, subscribe, like. Please ensure that we like to get your own thoughts, especially where you disagree or where you agree with us. It's good to have that so that we don't never claim to know it all. I would like to hear you guys' last thoughts because we're running out of time on this matter, especially around, we said traditional, like I like what he said. He said he said you're a traditional person. Traditional values. Okay. So I'd like to hear, because to someone listening to Josh, like, like, okay, are you sure this guy is not a traditional person? Because I can see we have to bring a topic. No, I don't have a problem. It's okay
I'm fine. I'm actually a mix of both.
Yeah, yes. Like for me, I would like to say I'm a traditional man who would like to embrace modernity and the reality of the generation or or whether we find ourselves. Because the truth is that the world is changing. Like we're talking about community. Community to us then before was people living around your area or but now community. Some people's community is Twitter.
Yeah.
In fact, I was having a joke with I think someone this morning that if I want to know an average young man's what is going through now, just go to the status. In fact, if he got if I get a query, nobody knows except probably when I get home. In fact, in this generation, if someone gets a query for what you already see, some boss are just very, very wicked. You already know that something is happening, So I'd like to hear your final thoughts on issue of modernity and where you stand and about it.
Okay, I think my stand is also with everybody. There's something called core values.
Okay.
It should never change.
Yeah.
There's something called maybe message.
Okay.
It should never change. The method can change.
Yeah.
The approach can change, can evolve.
Yeah.
But there are some things that are core. and we need to define those things that are core that you cannot take out. But the expression of those things can change over time, and that is what I stand for. Basically.
Josh,
I still had a thought back there, and it was basically more of a question. Have you ever tried to hold a woman that earns a lot more than you accountable for the money she's spending? That's going to be an interesting one if you ever get into that space where you have to do that, because a lot of women are coming from that empowerment.
I don't have a problem with his thought, because that's the reality,
It's happening.
I will say this, and to help him answer that, if I must, but I think somebody can also. We'll get to. I think there's a money topic we have discussed, so we'll do that, because I think. Because I fight for one, I've been on both ends. I've been in a situation where I earn so much more than my wife. I've also been in a situation where she earns more than me, because there are different decisions I've made. Maybe that time I want to start a business, of course, things won't be, stable at the beginning. So, and to be able to, and that's why I understand what he's saying, that sometimes you can unconsciously generalize because of the person you are dealing with. It may not be, but I get where it's going for also is that most of the time, you tend to see that women who probably earn more may want to flip. But I'm sure we have to. I said that we're talking about. But I think more about you as a person. Do you consider yourself a traditional person, or you are more abreast, or you are more open-minded to modernity?
Okay, I think I'm very open-minded. Okay, but at the same time, some area touch.
So like him, core value. There's some core area that is your non-negotiables.
Even that word, and they are pretty set for me. But I like the way we couched it, where we said we need to have a conversation to outline what are those core values for both parties, because it's not a relationship. You can't just assume your core values on someone else. Okay. So. Yes, as much open-minded as I am, I love conversations. Let's really trash it out. If it can't work, let's respectfully, mutually agree, and we're fine. Okay. If it can work, we chat the way forward.
Fantastic. Vicadex? Even though you have somehow mentioned your position, but I just like to hear your final thoughts.
My final thought would be that people should be wary from the bias of hindsight. When you're older, you begin to feel like, I knew this was going to happen. And also, we should be conscious that modernity itself is not a bad thing. Modernity is not responsible for the prevalence of decadence.
We should write that down, right?
What I mean to say is, people say, it's modernity, that's why there's so many issues around sexuality. But then that's what led to the fall of civilizations like Rome. Rome became pretty decadent. That was what led to the fall of Sparta. They became very decadent, more relaxed. So these are cycles that come and go, right? So maybe the social media that we have now, everybody has access to media, makes it all in our face. But these things have always been happening. The fight of good and evil has been on for a long time, and it's not a new thing today.
Fantastic. PK?
So I think I'm traditional to the extent that the value that you hold very high makes sense and insane. So because there's no way I'm never going to be that a woman will be a man. Right now. So I think tradition to the extent that they are values same, values sensible.
All right. Thank you very much, everyone, for joining us. I'd like to leave my own final thought. I tend to learn something a couple of years ago, where I think there's a difference between modernization and civilization. And I think that's what Vicadex just mentioned, because sometimes we want to generalize on modernization as civilization. You can be modernized and not be civilized.
Westernization.
Or westernization. So all those things. So it's very important. So for me, I think there are traditional core values that you should hold on to. And it's not necessarily about gender roles. It's about what we mutual respect for each other, because the reason why people do what they do is because maybe the wife feels that the way I can support my husband is to do what he cannot do. The same way the husband feels that the way I can support my wife is to do what probably she's not. And that's why I like what Bowie said, that sometimes I know a friend who is a guy who likes to wash the toilet, wash everything, just a homely person. And so sometimes it doesn't mean or you have to just do it. So it's very important for people to respect, have conversation, communicate, know the person you have in a relationship with, and get the best out of it. And at the end of the day, you are happy. Let me say a funny twist, a funny way. Say, what is good for grease is good for Uganda. Not what is good for the geese, good for Uganda. Please remember to join us, The Guys Connect, on YouTube and also on Instagram. Thank you very much. We look forward to hearing from you. Like, share, subscribe, and please turn on your notifications as new episode drops so that you can be one of the first people to get them. Thank you very much. See you next time.